Welcome to Tinted podcast. I'm Georgina, and joining me is Javier. Hi, Javier.
Hi, Georgina. How are you? Thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I know it's quite late and you've been working all day. So do you want to introduce yourself to the listeners and tell them a bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Javier. I work at London Fire Brigade. I'm a firefighter at the Fire Brigade. I'm posted in Ealing Station. I'm also a personal trainer, and I'm specialized on outdoors training. So before becoming a firefighter, that was my main trade. I used to deliver a large number of sessions for different companies across different parks in London, and I continue to do that for a small company called Be Fearsome, and together with my side by side with my firefighting job. In a minute, I will explain you a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, but what's really interesting is your training sessions are very good, as you know. We love them, and I've been going to Javier's training sessions for quite a few years now. So, and we were very sad when you had to leave us for a little bit last summer, I believe, at the beginning of the summer, to train. So, actually, you're in a very unique position because you actually trained to be a firefighter during the pandemic, which must have been really interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, it was challenging and very unique. I first applied for the firefighter role 2 years ago. When I applied for it in 2019, no COVID was around, nothing related to it, nothing that will tell us what was going to happen. The application process for becoming a firefighter is quite long. So just to round it up, I think it took me from the day I applied to the day I became, I made it to station, it took me a year incomplete. But before that, it was all the interview process, the fitness test process, the medical test process, and then it came the actual training. When I pass all the interviews, when they say to me, okay, cool, yeah, you're eligible, they invite me to take part in the training. It was around very beginning of March last year, 2020. COVID was still a thing around, but still no quarantine or anything like that. And they said to me, the next spot for you to join us on the training course is in June, on the 8th of June. Well, as you can imagine, since I accepted that spot and until that happened, everything changed a lot. So we went from a very, very strong lockdown or quarantine starting in March, in late March, to a much milder one towards June, July, the summer month. So yeah, I did all my pre-preparation for my training course on lockdown, on quarantine.
So that must have been, so normally I guess you would have probably paired up with other people that were going to start at the same time and do the training, or is it all very individual until you kind of join the...
There is a session, a pre-training session. This is a funny one. There's a pre-training session where you go and they take your measurements for your gear, for your fire gear, and for your, we have a fire uniform, the one used for working operationally, and then we have like a civilian uniform. That's the one we use when we're stationed, not firefighting. So basically, you go there, they take all your measurements. You meet the people who's going to be in your cohort, and you start like from there. Of course, there wasn't a chance. All that happened in April, and we were pretty much locked in at that point. So basically, it was more a business of, all right, guys, try to take the measures yourself at home and send them to us. And then on first day of your training course, all your gear is going to be there on the measures you choose, on the sizes you choose. What can go wrong? Yeah, everything went wrong. So yeah, you should see the people who was with me in training school the first days until everything got rectified with like shirts that were going all the way up to the fingers, or trousers that were massive, because everyone was failing on the side of caution, so everyone was ordering a little bit bigger. Very funny to see all the cohort dressed up like clowns, until it got rectified eventually. But yeah, everything was slightly 1 or 2 sizes bigger.
That's really funny. And so you met each other, and then how did they work it? I mean, obviously it was the summer months, but obviously COVID was, well, it's still around, but it was a tough summer, wasn't it? So how did you wear masks? Did you have to stay together? Did you go home? Or
at the moment, the actual training. So basically, when you start training day on day 1, you are a firefighter already, yeah, under development, but you are a firefighter. That qualifies you as a emergency responder, same as an NHS person or a policeman. So basically, you are allowed to attend training sessions because you're attending your service. Basically, you're attending to your fire station. So from there, it's no issue. It was no issue with COVID at all.
Because you're a frontline worker, basically. Yeah.
Yes, correct. We're emergency responders. When we started the 8th of July, I remember very well because it's one day before my birthday, and everything was a little bit more calm in terms of restrictions. So we were heading towards the summer. I don't know if you remember, but last year, April was a great month. It was very sunny. It was very hot. May was exactly the same. So when we started heading towards June, July, everything was quite diluted in terms of restrictions and how hard the controls were applied. And we were heading towards July and holidays and all those schemes appeared, like eat out, half price, and all those things. So it was a bit of an encouragement for people to go out again. And the fire brigade wasn't the exception. So yes, we were meant to hold some level of social distancing, but we were sharing tables, we were sharing spaces, and I don't know, probably we're a bit innocent at that point, and mostly we were doing like 75% normal life, I'll say. No need to say that when I finished my training school towards the end of August, then the winter hit back, and then everything went back a little bit harder again. So at that point, I was stationed, and yes, the measurements got toughen up again. We use masks inside the truck. We kept social distancing in common areas like kitchen or TV area. Yes, drills sharing drills with other stations wasn't an option. It was working as possible as a bubble.
Yeah. And during the training, kind of what was involved in the training, and was it different because of the pandemic? Sounds like it probably wasn't. Except for the measurement bit.
Yeah, I mean, I can't compare how it is outside of the pandemic because I just did it once with the pandemic. But I know that, for example, the training for the fire service comes from a third-party company called Babcock. It's the same people who do training for other services like the police and all the services. It's a massive company, and they utilize these venues they have around London. Because of all the measurements related to the pandemic, capacity was capped on the venues. So long story short, again, certain days or periods that we should have spent in certain venues, they moved us to certain other venues that are like miles away. So I remember going for a week to Ilford. I live in West London. Going to Ilford for a week when it was supposed to be in Park Royal, but because in Park Royal there was a lot of people, they wanted to keep the people separated, and they sent us to the venue they had available, and they had one in Ilford, and it's miles away from here. So yeah, that I'll say was probably the biggest impact it had in terms of logistics. And yeah, as I said, you try to show that you keep distancing. It's a bit weird because when you're drilling, you are next to each other. It's impossible. It's a lot of teamwork. It's a lot of pulling, pushing, moving, and a lot of communication. And it's impossible to do it without maintaining the social distancing. It's part of the job. So that was no option around there. Now, after that, we'll go to have lunch, and then we'll have to stay separated. And you're thinking like, hold on a second, 5 minutes ago, I was with this person, like head to head, because we had to pull something very, very heavy. And now we have to stay away from each other because I was like, well, if we have anything, if any of us has COVID, we grab it. We already grabbed it 5 minutes ago. But it's one of those things that you just take them as they come, and either way it is.
And you were probably quite tired anyway, so you probably weren't thinking about it quite so much because of all the training and the,
it was a very demanding process in my life. I am almost 40 years old, and I've done many different things in my life, and some of them I consider were quite tough or difficult.
Challenging.
Nothing was as difficult and challenging like this. The level of physical demand and intellectual demand that is put on the recruits is quite high. It's an 11-week course where you cross the door on day one, not knowing anything other than we put water on top of the fire. That's your maximum knowledge. And you come out of the same door 11 weeks after, knowing a bit more than that. And even though the basics are the same, we still put water on top of the fire. You learn a lot of stuff related to operational stuff, logistics stuff, about the equipment, about the policies we use, the policies that rule us, the hierarchy of the brigade. It's a lot to take on board as you also practically develop yourself as a firefighter.
So when you finished training, you joined the team in Ealing, and are you like a junior recruit? And is there like a kind of a, like in a squad?
Yes,
kind of,
you're a firefighter under development for the first 18 months. The technical term is you're a diamond. That's because in your helmet you have 2 diamond stickers on it that they highlight that you haven't been long there. The non-technical term is you're a sprog, basically.
A sprog.
So basically everyone refers to you as the sprog.
And is there only one sprog per squad, or a few?
Depending on the size. So for example, Ealing Fire Station has only 1 truck.
Yeah.
That means that it can only be 1 sprog at a time.
Okay.
If the station had 2 trucks, you could have 2 sprogs, so 1 on each truck.
So you finished training, joined everyone in Ealing, and then was the kind of stuff you were called out to the same as what you expected, or was it different?
Nothing prepares you for station life. So on top of all this knowledge you acquire over the first 11 weeks, then they drop you into the real world, and you realize that you have a lot of good information on board, but now you need to go for the real thing. Again, I can only give you the experience of my station. My station is small. It's a small watch, and everyone there has been 15 to 20 years, so they're very close. They're like a family. They spend many hours together, and they've been doing that for many years. And so it's all being together through different periods of their life, like getting married, having kids. Some of them even have part-time jobs together. So suddenly being the new guy is nothing wrong with that. I mean, you find a little bit of resistance, but it's a natural thing. Yeah, nobody will open the doors of the house to you like, come to my house and be part of my family. You have to prove yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and also you are in dangerous situations, so obviously they need to trust that you can, hold your space, basically.
Yeah, and that you're not going to do anything silly, and that they can rely on you, because basically when we're working, we're like a unit. Yeah, it's 5 people, 6 people working together towards the same goal, and everyone has a different role, and my role depends on someone else, and someone else's role depends on my role, and everything works like, a bit clockwork.
Yeah.
We're all little cogs, and if any of the cogs doesn't spin properly, you could have with massive issues. So yeah, you have to prove yourself, and you have to show yourself competent, and you have to prove yourself a team worker, because at the beginning you're going to commit a lot of mistakes. It's logical. There's a learning curve as in anything else. But of course, as long as you are ready to learn from those mistakes, and you give the opportunity to learn and develop yourself, then it's absolutely fine. It's nothing terrible. If they see the right attitude in you, they will put you under their wing, and they will look after you as you develop and you learn the job, and become self-sufficient. I mean, self-sufficient, you're never self-sufficient, because, as I say, it's a team job. But until you perform your role to the standards that need to be performed.
And the other thing I thought was really interesting is that there were quite a few girls that came through at the same time as you did. It almost looked like it was 50-50.
It wasn't 50-50, but it wasn't girls, but it wasn't 50-50. It was more like 25-75. I think the culture of the fire brigade, it has changed a lot, or the intention is to make it change a lot in the last probably 10-20 years, when before it was a very masculine environment, and now it's been open to more girls, and I think it's fantastic, because everyone can chip in since their particular place. So yeah, there are more girls coming through. As I say, in my cohort it was 12, and it was 4 girls, so it was spot on 25-75. And yeah, I'm still in touch with them, and they're doing very well in their stations, and they become very valuable assets for the brigade as well. We all can chip in from our places in different ways, and that makes it very, very valuable.
Yeah, in fact, I've got a friend in New Zealand, and she's a female firefighter there. So I was quite interested when I saw your photos. So because of the pandemic, were you called out on some quite different jobs or was it just for, serious fire, flooding, that kind of thing?
Those things are there, yeah, fires, floodings, car accidents. I'll say because of the pandemic, everything tapered down a little bit, probably because of people being locked in at home. It was less chances for accidents to leave the house with the hob on, or to get locked outside your house, because you're the whole day inside your house, and the same with driving. Because of the pandemic and the lockdown, everyone was using less their cars, or traveling less. However, the statistics is very funny. It shows that within the first 2-3 months of lockdown, the accidents in London, the road traffic collisions in London raised, and many people have a very interesting approach to that. They say it's because Londoners are not used to drive on an open road. Yeah, you're always like stuck in traffic. Yeah, and suddenly it was like, there you go, that's the road. You can do whatever you want, and they were like, okay, and crashing against a lamppost or something like that. But then it reduced the number of traffic collisions, and yeah, it was definitely much more quieter. One of the main activities from the brigade, even more than tackling incidents of fire, is to do community service and to educate basically the community to avoid those accidents or fires to happen. We do a lot of visits, what we call home fire safety visits. So, for example, you can drop by your local station and tell them that you don't have smoke alarms, or that your smoke alarms, the battery is about to go, or that you're not sure if they're well correctly installed, and your local fire station will just book a slot for you, and they will rock up at your house and have a whole check of your flat at absolutely no cost, and provide the fire alarms that are needed. And that that was a little bit stopped because we weren't being allowed to go inside anyone's houses. We also do like we do not lectures, but we do like talks to schools, to elder people homes, and that was also on hold and pause because of the pandemic. So all those activities were like paused, whether normally they'll be like our bread and butter. Basically, we do that a lot, and that's the way to prevent any incident to happen. Right, it's a proactive initiative rather than a reactive initiative. You know,
Yeah.
So you educate people so the accident never happen, and that's the ideal.
Yeah. My mum's had the fire brigade round to help her to check her house, and she got lots of, it was really good. It really helped, actually. So now that's all kind of happening, and I'm just interested. So do most firefighters have other jobs as well?
Most of us, yes. Yes, most of us, yes.
Because the hours are, I suppose you couldn't do it 5 days a week, could you?
No, the working for London Fire Brigade, the working rota is 4 days on, 4 days off. Out of the 4 days, we work 2 days, 2 nights.
Yeah.
And following to that, you have 4 days you don't work. It gives you great freedom to, if you have another trade. In my case, in particular, I had already another trade, so I just kept going with it. And some other people will develop a new trade. You have plumbers, electricians, gas engineers, painters, I don't know, window cleaners, wherever, that will occupy the time in order to be more productive and keep working 1, 2, or 2, even 3 days out of the days off. At least when you are firefighter level. When you start going above towards officer levels, probably as you have more responsibility and also the payment goes up, you're not so much relying on a second job. But yeah, most, I'll say 75 to 80% of the firefighters have a part-time job or a second job
on the side. Yeah. So today I was actually driving past Grenfell Tower, and it just, I thought of you, not because of that incident, but because of the firefighters that had, everyone had such a terrible time. And I guess, did that inspire you to sign up? Or, I mean, I guess it emphasizes the importance of prevention as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So how the fire brigade works is like we're divided in 4. It's a watch system. We're divided in 4 different watches. Yeah. So when my watch does a day shift, yeah, we finish at 8 p.m. From 8 p.m. another watch comes. Yeah. So we're divided by color watches. Yeah? My watch is the red watch, and then you also have the white watch, the green watch, and the white watch. When you have red watch, you have red watch in all stations. So at the same time, it's red watch in Ealing, red watch in High Street, Kensington, wherever you call it. It's always red watch at the same time. Yeah, it's always white watch at the same time. So you know
each other and you can work together. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What I'm trying to go with this is Grenfell happened on Red Watch night. That is the watch I'm part of. So I didn't go to Grenfell because, of course, I started much later, much after the incident. But many of my work colleagues been to it.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of stories and a lot of things. And they are. It's incredibly sad, of course, and mobilizing. But it's amazing to see how such a tough scenario, such a negative event, managed to get the best out of people to because the firefighters worked the socks off on that night, because of they couldn't stand the level of negativity that was happening, how serious the event was, and they you hear stories of things that you can't believe that they did, and like lifting. Normally we have procedures where we lift equipment from one floor to another. We're talking about a fire extinguisher, we're talking about an axe. You hear stories of them lifting ladders that are extremely heavy, like 100 kilos heavy, and they were all lifting them and doing things like that, and all motivated, all push through the seriousness of the event, of the incident, and yeah, it's mobilizing to know what happened and how the brigade responded, putting themselves in great danger as well. Yeah, and that is not, you don't need an event of that scale to put yourself in danger. I mean, the moment that you walk into a flat and there's a fire or flooding, or you're pretty vulnerable. And by my particular case, at the moment, you don't think of that. Of course, you take all the precautions. You don't do anything silly. You don't want to become yourself into a liability or a problem that they will have to solve. But you have to put it into the side of your mind what you're actually doing. Yeah, because at the end of the day, you are helping people that you don't know, and you're putting your life in risk to help a complete stranger. And that's something sometimes cross my mind, but I need to know everyone to be keen on helping them or give a hand. Yeah, I mean, like, it's irrelevant. You could be doing something meaningful to someone, and that's good enough.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice insight to hear. And it's true, you're doing something for someone and you don't even know them. You don't have any relationship with them. You've just kind of arrived, and I think that sometimes gets forgotten. And I think that just thinking of the last couple of weeks, there's been so much flooding as well. So I guess that you've probably been called out to a lot of kind of flooding scenarios lately. So when the fires go out, if the floods are coming, then there's less fires, aren't they? But I mean, certainly that's going to become more and more of an issue over the next few years, I think. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yes. Our responsibility with flooding is a bit different with fires. With fires, you have to put them out. End of the story, yeah. With the flooding, sometimes you don't have where to put that water. So you try to, first of all, what you do in case of a flooding incident is like make sure that there's no risk of fire.
Yeah.
So electrical fire, for example. And you isolate.
Oh, electrocution. People getting electrocuted.
No, they don't need to get electrocuted. You can have arcing because of the mixture of fire and electricity, and that could start a fire.
Okay.
So what you isolate is electrical power, and that's our main job there, to prevent the fire. There are floodings where we've been able to help and take the water out. Yeah, we have some pumps and stuff like that with us. But there are others that you can't do anything, because you go to a place and it's all flooded, and where am I going to put the water? I can't take the water out of here and put it there and flood the other house over there.
Yeah.
So what we mainly do in the floodings is to secure conditions and make sure that no fire or electrocution is going to happen. That's a big role in a flooding scenario. And yes, there are a lot of those going on right now.
Yeah. Well, through your training as a firefighter and the pandemic and your other work that you do in fitness, what have you is there anything you've learned over this past not interesting is one word, unique time?
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot. I'm a strong believer that nothing is completely positive or nothing is completely negative. Yeah, even though the pandemic and the lockdowns and it was quite negative, I'm pretty sure that it brought us some other positive things. Of course, at the moment you are shocked and hit by the negative stuff, and it's very difficult to see the positives. But for example, as a fitness instructor, before COVID, I would have never ever thought that I was going to be teaching a class through Zoom or through any other internet platform. And I'm pretty sure if I would suggest it to any of my clients, like, I'm going to train you through internet, they would say to me like, no way. After we've been forced to that, because on the first lockdown we were not allowed to see anyone. On the second one, yes, we were allowed to to train people one-to-one. But after we've been forced to that, it became a thing, and training became a thing, and that opened the opportunity to start training people that in other circumstances we will not be able to train. So, for example, I have a client, and she went on holiday now, and she keeps training through one of these platforms.
Yeah.
Not because of COVID right now, because she's away on holiday somewhere else.
Yeah.
And she can keep her training regime thanks to these new technologies, where if before COVID that wouldn't have been an option. It would have been like, go on holiday, do wherever you want, and when you come back we resume your training. So that's positive for me. Economically, it's great, I'm not gonna lie to you. But also positive for the person, because she can keep her training regime and not disrupted because of her holidays, or the people it's been forced or suddenly became more convenient for them to move outside of London because they're not going to offices anymore in London, and they want to keep on training, or the frequency where they come to the city became smaller, and they can still train from wherever they are, because now doing activities through this internet platform, like the one we are having a conversation, you and me right now, it became a thing. It's an actual thing. On the other hand, it was also very inspiring to see at the very beginning, see how people was putting so much effort to maintain the community strong through these platforms as well, organizing quizzes and pub nights from home, and dinners and Zoom birthdays and stuff. And it was a lot of effort put into maintaining the links between people during such a challenging experience. I mean, I don't think I have to clarify that, but I'm not from here. I'm from abroad, and straight away as the pandemic hit, the possibilities for me. I'm from the southern hemisphere. I'm from South America, Argentina, and the possibilities of me flying home and visiting my family got a bit. They went through the window. So the idea of starting communicating and being more proactive or maintain communication, so these communication channels open through the internet, through all these platforms, it was very positive. So yeah, that's another positive I have to say over the pandemic and all that happened.
Yeah, I think it's great, because I mean, I don't know if you're going to get back this year to see your family, or if it will be next year, but at least you get to see each other's faces, don't you? And have a proper kind of conversation. I was just thinking, so were you, you must have just started as a firefighter when we were still doing the clapping on a Monday for the frontline workers, or had it just finished?
It finished by the time I think I was at training school. My first couple of weeks at training school, it was still clapping.
And then
Thursday.
Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. Yeah.
And then when I got to station, it was normal clapping there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was also really nice, and seeing all the support from the people out there, out of nowhere. Again, back to what we said before, supporting people that they don't know, because there are emergency workers out there, emergency responders out there, but you don't know them.
No.
And suddenly mobilizing all that energy, all that warmth towards them, and making them feel loved and appreciated, and appreciated their job roles. And during the pandemic, we were all putting up, all emergency workers were putting their lives to a certain extent of risk. NHS people, police people, because the rule and the measure was stay at home to avoid contagious situations. That didn't exist for emergency responders. We couldn't stay at home. We had to go and do a job anyway. So feeling that appreciation from the people, that warmth was really, really nice, really, really sweet. And again, another inspiring thing out there for everyone.
I saw a fire engine today. I don't know if you were in it, but next time I see one, I'll wave and shout, and we should all do that. Javier, thank you so much for sharing your experiences as a firefighter, and I definitely really appreciated all the fitness classes we did on the internet. And to be honest, it definitely saved my waistline. It would have been a very different situation when they stopped, because everyone was going back to the park and I was still adjusting with Rudy the dog. I definitely got fatter, but now I'm back on track, back in the park, so that's good. So thank you very much, and really I hope you enjoy your holiday, and yeah, it was great to speak to you. Take care. See you later.
Thank you very much for the space, and see you later too.